They're at a 1-1 series. The first one being the Tokyo Dome, then Forbidden Door, now Wembley, the rubber match. In a hopeful 90,000 seat stadium with the AEW World Championship on the line. This can be Kenny Omega's last biggest match in the AEW history. Maybe his whole career. 3 V-triggers, 1 diamond ring pulled out of a cheater's hands, and 1 finishing move that ends careers for most. AEW just did something fans have been screaming for since 2024. They finally pulled the trigger on Omega versus Ospreay, and they're doing it at Wembley. Welcome to the Tea Drop, where the brew is strong and there's lots to talk about. Wednesday, July 8th of 2026 of this year, Clearwater, Florida. AEW Beach Break. Decent show. Not bad, not great, but it was a decent show. It was 102 degrees outside apparently that day. But inside that open arena was even hotter because the stakes for this match between MJF and Kenny Omega were suffocating. Because if Kenny Omega lost that night, he would never challenge for the AEW World Championship again. Something that Hangman Adam Page is dealing with right now. And that conversation we'll have in a different video because he talked about it at Collision this week. That was the deal he made to get his title shot against MJF. His back was against the wall, and everyone in that building knew it. Now, before the match, when the show started, Omega sat backstage with his only corner man, his close friend Michael Nakazawa. No faction, no cavalry, just him, and he talked to Renee Paquette and said, "I do my best work when my back is against the wall." He wasn't wrong. MJF entered as champion. But even before that, another great segment that if you guys haven't watched Dynamite this week, definitely watch it. They had a backstage segment between MJF and Will Ospreay. The amount of words that these two exchanged was ridiculous. The burns that they did to each other were ridiculous. It's a good promo. I suggest you guys to watch it. I think Ospreay obviously won that exchange, and MJF was furious about it. There were other things like they had in this show, they had the, what's it called? They had the Casino Royale for the women to challenge Tekla at the upcoming pay-per-view Redemption, I think it's called. And a lot of good contenders. There were indie wrestlers there, but we have a match set up. I saw there Maya World was there. Maya World's going over in the AEW right now, which is great for her. She had an amazing match at Forbidden Door that Dave Meltzer, as of this day, still has not rated. Why? Because he hasn't watched TV. I have not watched Dynamite or Collision until this morning. I watched both. I was able to pay attention to both shows, and I was able to say what I can say right now. Maybe not to the expert talks as Dave Meltzer or any of these content high-level creators that write full-ass blown-out reports, but I at least watched it. Why Dave Meltzer can't do it? I don't know. Dave, it would be nice if you rated by now. It's almost been a month, motherfucker. Like, no offense. I'm genuinely pissed you can't watch an 18-minute match, but let me walk away. That's not the point of the conversation. Great match. Definitely go watch it. Anyway, back to what we're really here for. MJF entered as champion. Salt of the earth arrogance as always. The Dynamite diamond ring on his finger, he had to take it off, as well as his belt and whatever. The AEW world title over his shoulder, and he had a low blow in his back pocket, same as always for the end of the match. He had a secondary diamond ring, he tried to use it as well. He used all of it. Low blow, shot with the actual title belt to Omega's skull. Ospreay tried to not let him use the diamond ring, try to help out to make the match even, still didn't work, but it didn't matter. When MJF was reaching for the diamond ring, the most dangerous foreign object apparently in AEW, when something happened that nobody expected. Will Ospreay, like I said, already running down ringside, grabbed the ring out of MJF's hands, took it away, just like that. MJF had nothing left. Omega almost hit him with the belt. He stopped instead while the ref is being bothered by Will Ospreay. MJF low blows him, hits him with the belt, still counts out. Out of all this, eventually Omega landed his first V-trigger, then the second, then the third, and we got a champ. We get the one-winged angel for the win. If you're not deep in the wrestling world, let me catch you up because these two men that are now going to go against each other after MJF lost the title, and now we got Kenny Omega as the new champion, and we're now having we're having these Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega at All In London on Sunday, August 30th. But if you're not deep in the wrestling lore beyond AEW, let's talk about these two men that are now opponents. They're a generation-defining rivalry that almost sometimes never happens outside of the big companies like WWE and AEW. Kenny Omega, as you know, is from Canada. Winnipeg, Canada, to be more precise. Anyway, he spent years grinding on the independent circuit in North America and Japan before he was more prominent in New Japan Pro Wrestling, which made him a star. We're talking about a man who wrestled Kazuchika Okada 4 times in singles competition, and 3 of those matches are regularly discussed as amongst the greatest ever performed, as some people have told me over the internet and told me what to watch. So definitely going to be watching those matches before All In. He built his legacy on the philosophy that every match is the best match of the night. That's where the nickname comes from, the best bout machine. In 2019, Omega left New Japan and became one of the founding pillars of All Elite Wrestling. He eventually won the AEW World Championship, and then his body started failing him, unfortunately. Diverticulosis, I think, is what he had, diverticulosis is what he had, which is a gastrointestinal condition where pouches in your intestinal wall becomes infected, which was crazy. In serious cases, apparently it's life-threatening. Omega's time was stolen. He was out of action for over a year. He had a surgery in 2024. He didn't wrestle again until January 2025 at Wrestle Dynasty in Tokyo. His first match back in 13 months, and even after returning, there were more setbacks because he eventually had a head injury in mid-2025, forced him to relinquish the title. This comeback, though, this run into Beach Break, it's more than a storyline at this point. It's a man putting his body on the line for one of the more top prizes and shots out there. Now, Will Ospreay, Will Ospreay was born in Romford, East London. If Omega is the best bout machine, according to some people, well, Ospreay might be the closest thing to its successor the business has ever produced. His nickname, the Aerial Assassin, tells you exactly what he does. Things in the air that he does shouldn't be physically possible for a man his size, to be honest. That is why I love Will Ospreay as a wrestler, because some of the things he does is unfathomable to a man like him. Like, wow, you're like,
fuck is wrong with you?
He became one of New Japan's top stars after Omega left. He built himself into a heavyweight, won the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Then in early 2024, he signed with AEW. His debut was electric. The buzz was immediately, as you would expect from someone that caliber. And then, just like Omega, his body sent him a bill, unfortunately. 2 herniated discs. He had a neck surgery in September of 2025. He described it as his first major injury in his 13 years of wrestling, which was crazy with all the crap he does. He was out for months. Unfortunately, we missed a lot from him. But here's the thing about these two men. They've both been to the edge and come back. And now AEW is putting them in the biggest possible room to find out who's actually the best. Omega versus Ospreay. But this is not new, because before we even talk about Wembley, we have to talk about what these two have already done to each other. Because this isn't a first cold match, it's a series already, because they've already wrestled 2 other times, and they're currently tied 1-1. If you take a look back, we have the first match they did, Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay, January 4th, 2023. New Japan's biggest show of the year, the Tokyo Dome. Ospreay at I believe it was at Wrestle Kingdom 17. Ospreay was the IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion. Omega challenged him. I did watch this match. It was extraordinary. CageMatch.net, as you can see, the biggest peer review Yelp version of professional wrestling, ranked this match one of the best at 9.74. Crazy. Omega won. He became the new champion. But it didn't finish there. We had a second coming of these two, and that was at AEW Forbidden Door 2023. June 25th, 2023. Ospreay got the rematch he wanted, and this time Ospreay won, reclaiming the US title. A lot of people called it the 2023 Match of the Year contender on the night that happened, which I can't disagree. It was such a great match. These two went crazy at it. And since then, the series has been tied 1-1, because after this, that's when all the injuries happened to both of them. Now we're heading towards Wembley Stadium, and it's going to be the rubber match, one of the biggest stages AEW has ever used. Wembley Stadium. We're getting a rematch. Now, how Ospreay earned his shot, we can go deep on that. Ospreay coming back from his neck surgery, Ospreay had to earn his spot as always, and he preferred that way anyway. Of course, Chef is saying if I had to choose an AEW star to favor, it would be Ospreay. Of course, Ospreay is the future for AEW. AEW obviously didn't hand them anything, unlike the Argentina matches we're seeing at FIFA World Cup. The 2026 Owen Hart Foundation tournament is where he earned his shot. A bracket-style competition, obviously named after Owen Hart, the beloved Canadian wrestler who unfortunately died tragically in 1999. If you know, you know. Winning it is considered one of the more prestigious things you can do in AEW at this point, specifically because it comes with a world title shot at All In. In the final, Ospreay faced Swerve Strickland, a man who has his own blood-soaked, legitimate claim to the AEW main event as well. That match was a war match. It was a banger match. I still liked Mercedes versus Maya World. I think that was the better match, but this was the close second. It was a war match. It was bloody. It was crazy. Ospreay ended it with the Tiger Driver 91. A move some consider so dangerous it was briefly banned in Japan for a few years, but he was able to use it. Will Ospreay won the 2026 Owen Hart Cup. He had his ticket punched to Wembley, and then 2 days later, everything got more complicated because we got a little wrinkle in the system, and that name is Jon Moxley. If you know AEW, you know what that name means. Moxley, former known as WWE's Dean Ambrose. He is now the architect of the faction called the Death Riders, who is a violent, merciless faction who are ideologically committed to a specific brand of pain. Now, earlier this year, when it came to these guys, where is it, man? Do I have it? Maybe not. I'll just put this one. We'll do that. Earlier this year, the Death Riders jumped Ospreay, put him on the mat, sent the message. But here's where professional wrestling gets generally interesting when it came to this storyline. Moxley didn't just want to destroy Ospreay. He saw something in him. Moxley reportedly convinced Ospreay that he keep taking beatings until he changed his approach. And he said that's the only way to survive and win the world title. To him was to embrace the Death Riders mentally. So on July 1st, 2026, 1 week before Beach Break, Ospreay officially joined the Death Riders on AEW Dynamite. He and Moxley performed the signature Death Riders corner attack together in a tag match against the Workhorsemen. And then 1 week later, Ospreay is ringside at Omega's title match, and instead of helping MJF retain, he rips the diamond ring away and hands Omega the pathway to victory. So now you have to ask a question I feel like at this point everyone's asking. Jon Moxley's history suggests loyalty is conditional. If Ospreay wins the title at Wembley, with the Death Riders behind him, who actually controls the AEW championship picture then? If that's the case, who does it? Who controls it? If people are not paying attention, that could be the slow burn story running underneath everything that maybe some are not paying attention. And maybe this is the long-term booking or long-term storytelling that we're hoping for, but maybe not everyone's paying attention. Or maybe they are and they don't care. Let's talk about Wembley, because the stakes have never been higher. August 30th of this glorious year of 2026, as some will say. Wembley Stadium, All In London. Let's put this into context. The first AEW Wembley show in 2023 reported more than 80,000 spectators. It was one of the most stunning single event attendances in modern wrestling history. It was a great show. I truly believe so. I saw a lot of hope from there, but unfortunately in 2024, that show dropped to 53,000. It was still in Wembley. Now, the current WrestleTix estimate, and I have it written right here, for 2026 as of this week is approximately 29,127 tickets distributed out of a configured capacity of 36,600. That's how they configure right now. They obviously can open up more, but they're trying to get the minimal first, but we will see. Now, AEW has run a Summer Flash promotion offering select seats at half price to move tickets, which is a smart thing to do. The main event announcement thread all around social media has fans framing that this match is immediately going to be a torch pass moment. One last reigns for Kenny Omega, then he hands the company's future to Ospreay. So we can have a nice transitional moment here. And I agree with it, to be honest. We can have this nice moment between two great wrestlers who've had this three-peat kind of series through New Japan, through early start for Ospreay and AEW. Now near this end, Kenny Omega is 42 years old now, battling his different surgeries and injuries that he's dealt. And he has a body that has been pushed past its limits for 20 plus years. He just won the AEW title and what was advertised as his last shot ever, too. Now, Will Ospreay, on the other hand, is 31 years old, coming off from the most serious injury of his career. He rebuilt himself, he recharged, and now is running with the most dangerous faction in the company at this point. If this is Omega's last run, question is whether the company lets him leave as champion or lets him do the most meaningful professional wrestling thing that he can do. Put the next generation over on the biggest, most watched possible stage. They're at a 1-1 series, the first one being the Tokyo Dome, then Forbidden Door, now Wembley. The rubber match, guys, in a hopeful 90,000 seat stadium with the AEW World Championship on the line. This can be Kenny Omega's last biggest match in the AEW history, maybe his whole career. With the sale of tickets at half off, you get a decent price ticket, maybe you catch a flight to London, get a cheap hotel. You only need to be there a few nights. Do you need the luxury? No. You're there to watch maybe, if you agree, one of the greatest wrestlers in our modern history, potentially passing the torch and ending his career there. You know, some people do not want to retire paralyzed or very hurt. They want to still enjoy their years post-wrestling. So maybe Kenny Omega is doing just that. So if you guys are a big Kenny Omega fan, I would definitely suggest watching and going to the event if you can. It's kind of a similar thing with the John Cena retirement. You never know. But anyway, here's where we are. Omega is champion, holding the belt. He was told he never touch again. Ospreay is the #1 contender, aligned with a man who tried to end his career 6 months ago, and as Chef Maku is saying, most likely Mox will get the title back in the future. And he may not be wrong with that. Jon Moxley is definitely lurking as we speak. And we have Wembley Stadium obviously waiting for all these fans and the greatest of AEW event that you can possibly imagine get performed. AEW has been building to this match, whether they'll admit to it or not, since Ospreay signed in February of 2024. 2 years of near misses, injuries, and interferences. The question isn't whether this match will be great. We will have 2 separate 5-star level matches between these exact 2 men in the last 3 years as proof. The question is actually, what does it mean when it's over? What's the next step? If Omega wins, he walks out of Wembley as the biggest wrestling venue at this point used in wrestling history in London as a definitive champion of the modern era. Maybe he drops the belt, he retires it after that, or he retires, who knows? Or maybe he continues, maybe he has a couple years in him. Who knows? I don't know. But if Ospreay wins, AEW hands its future to a 31-year-old from Romford who rebuilt himself from herniated disc to the main event of the biggest show on the AEW calendar, even the general calendar for wrestling as a whole. Either way, this is a match that is going to be important and that does matter. And AEW, after 2 years of teasing it, finally gets to pull the trigger. If you want to see the full Beach Break main event, it's on Max, HBO Max. If you want to go back and watch these two did at Wrestle Kingdom 17 and Forbidden Door, I believe Forbidden Kingdom 2023 is on Max. I don't know if Wrestling Kingdom is, maybe it's on another thing, but if I find all the links, I'll link it in the description. So anyway, let me know your thoughts about this. Are you excited for Ospreay versus Omega? Let me know your thoughts, and if the T hit right, hit the like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next video.